That's absolutely. And I think you want to trust your frontline staff. You need to train them appropriately, give them all the tools and understanding of what their mission is, and then trust them in their output.
Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast, where professionals in the attractions business can get tips, tools, and even a bit of inspiration.
Join us as we tackle some of the most important topics facing the attractions industry today and gain insights from some of the top leaders, creators, and influencers from the exciting world of theme parks, zoos, museums, aquariums, and family entertainment centers.
Because this show is created by Attraction Pros for Attraction Pros. I am Josh Liebman, Director of Business Development for Amusement Advantage. I help attractions understand and improve their guest experience.
And I'm Matt Heller, founder of Performance Optimist Consulting. I help leaders lead and work with attractions to increase employee engagement and retention.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and enjoy the leading resource for attractions industry professionals, the Attraction Pros podcast.
Hey Josh, how you doing?
Hey Matt, I am, I'm doing pretty well. I am fired up today.
Why are you fired up?
Well, I'm just really excited for the guest that we've got on the podcast today.
Randy Josselyn. So Randy and I have gone back, many, many years. We worked together at IAPA. I'm super excited to have him speak on the podcast. He's not someone that is short for words. Let's say that.
This might be a little bit longer than our standard episode, but we promise it's going to be worth every second of your time to listen to this. What's really interesting is Randy is with Gateway Ticketing. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of the point of sale solution and the ticketing aspect of the industry, particularly as it now relates to the COVID-19 crisis that we're in. But we're also going to we're going to be able to cover a wide variety of topics because Randy, is someone who's definitely an expert in the industry, and he loves to connect with his clients, which are primarily zoos and aquariums. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and kind of what he sees when he visits those locations, and we might even turn it over to him because I think he might have some questions for us too.
I was just going to say that one of the things I'm excited about is that you just never know. When you're talking to Randy, you just never know what's going to happen. So this should be a ton of fun.
Yep, I would say let's get to it.
Here we go. Randy Josselyn from Gateway Ticketing. Thanks so much for joining us on the Attraction Pros podcast. How are you doing today?
I am well, gentlemen. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are so happy to talk to you. It's been a while since we've seen each other in person, and we hope to see each other soon. But until then, we've got this format. So I'd love to kind of dive into your career and kind of how things are going at Gateway. So can you give us kind of a quick rundown of who Randy is and kind of your career in the industry so far?
Sure, absolutely. Wow, where do we start? I guess we start as a child. Like many folks in this industry, I got hooked probably as a youngster going to water parks and Disneyland. I'm from Orange County, California. So I had Disneyland in my backyard and a local water park that I was a season pass holder at. And I'm pretty sure it was the day that I could apply for a job, I applied. So I started at a very charming little water park in Irvine, California called Wild Rivers Water Park. You can go on the internet and see amazing pictures, but you can't go visit, unfortunately, because probably 4 or 5 years ago, the land that they resided on was turned into condos and homes. So sadly, that little gem is no longer there. So, but I left in, wow. So I've only had like 3 jobs my entire life, I guess I would say. Wild Rivers, worked for Disney Parks and Resorts. I worked for myself, and then Gateway Ticketing, which has been a great home base for me the last few years. I've been there about 3 years. I love it. I love the people I work with. I love this industry. I guess I've done a lot of volunteer jobs with IAPA and other places, but that's me in a nutshell, I think.
Yeah, awesome. Randy, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Gateway? You have a really interesting title, Principal, Wildlife and Conservation.
Yeah. Well, I really have an affinity for zoos and aquariums. And during my time period after finishing my tour of duty at Disney Parks and Resorts, I started consulting with lots of nonprofits. I had kind of a water park consulting aspect of my portfolio, so to speak. I helped design some water park elements, and actually a camp, a water park camp that's up in Oregon. And I had been advising and consulting there, but I really took a liking to aquariums and zoos. So almost initially working with Aquarium of the Pacific, some work with the Living Planet Aquarium, the Phoenix Zoo. I started to really get comfortable in that space, working in that community, giving them advice on ticketing, but giving them also marketing advice, membership advice, development advice, and whatnot. So that's kind of how I kind of made my niche as this title, Principal Wildlife and Conservation. So at Gateway Ticketing, we provide a variety of services, but we also, a lot of people wouldn't know unless you really get to know everybody at the company. We have a great portfolio of employees that have come from other attractions, Palace Entertainment, Cedar Fair, Universal, Disney, and then a variety of places like me. So I kind of help out with our business on like a consultative side of things. I would say when I help with best practices, but specifically in that vertical of zoos and aquariums. So I might, here's an example. A zoo might say, hey, we want to do these things better. We come out and do a site visit for us, and we just kind of walk the zoo in their shoes. And then we walk the zoo in the guest shoes. And we look behind the scenes at each of the areas and say, wow, that from a technology aspect, this is something we might want to improve on. And I try to unite people. So if one zoo is doing something that another zoo might be interested in, I try to get them in the same room. So I'm like the Don King of zoos, right? Like I just want to broker the gathering, so to speak, and get people together. That's kind of what I do.
So how much of what you do, let's say you do this site visit, this consultative kind of walkthrough at a zoo, how much of that leads back to their ticketing and their point of sale? And I guess how much further beyond that scope do you generally go?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I think the hook is obviously that most typically they're using our software in some way, shape, or form. So they might be using the Galaxy point of sale suite, our access control, our online web store, or they might use components of it, not all of it. We have other products like CRM Plus, which is our CRM tool, and we have reporting tools, and it really just runs the gamut. But no, nothing's off limits. I've actually advised people on customer service and hospitality. So we all know when we get an opportunity to walk behind the scenes, you start to see like, oh, this is your customer service message. And sometimes that's maybe setting the bar high, and sometimes there's opportunity to move the bar up. So I'll look at everything. Whatever I see, I'll look into their employee manuals. I've done customized hospitality training. So nothing's really off limits. And I think what I see about our industry, we're really good at sharing, and we verbally share, but kind of really understanding another attraction and how they run behind the scenes is there's some protection there. There's some silos. And so what's important is to try to communicate that there's always a better way to do something. And whether we've been at IAPA events or T events and whatnot, or our own Gateway Ticketing hosted events. And so occasionally you'll see your friends from Disney and Universal kind of like slowly gather together, in the dark corner of the room, and they'll start having amazing conversations. And I think the idea there is that they have the same challenges that any of us have. But when you have an opportunity with a zoo or an aquarium or a nonprofit, it's probably a little easier to connect the dots in that way. But I'll look at everything. That's my joy. If I could do anything, I would just walk around and try to tell people what they might try differently through my eyes. And I'm bringing industry knowledge from other experiences.
So then, when, let's say you're visiting, whether it's an amusement water park or a zoo or aquarium on your own, not work related,
I'm a tough critic.
I'm gonna say, is there an on and off switch?
There's no off switch.
Gears are turning.
My wife says to me often, she says, Randy, just because you're at an attraction doesn't mean you have to be at work. Because I'll sit down and this is a true story. I've got kids right now that are doing school from home. And one of the constant conversations we're having at home right now is about not even the fine line, that just asking for help. So now my kids have been thrust into this new world. And I think, I know that this is going to air in later in the early spring or late spring of 2020. But right now we're all kind of quarantined at home right now. My family is quarantined. My kids are trying to do virtual school, and they're now trying to look at everything through this lens of this computer. And I'm trying to teach them to ask for help from their teachers. And there was a fascinating case study from just a few weeks ago. I was talking to our friends at the Cincinnati Zoo, and in the midst of all of these attractions that are extending membership validity, you guys have seen it in the news all the time. What do? We're closed for 2 months. Well, the obvious answer is to extend 2 months of a membership. But there's a cost associated with that. I mean, so I literally took my child down a development capital conversation about asking for help. And I showed her, hey, how many members do you think the Cincinnati Zoo has? And we just came up with a number, 100,000. I said, how much did you pay for your membership? $60. So how much is your membership a month? She says, well, that's $5. I'm like, you got it. So if I extend 2 months to everybody, how much is that? $10. Well, if I give you 2 months, what's the actual cost value of that? So literally, I cannot separate my world from any other world. Like I'm literally taking her down this journey. And I say, when I go and I visit an attraction, it's really difficult to take off the operator's hat. But in the same token, I think it's fair to say, don't just be critical. I had an experience at Dollywood where a ride in front of me, it was the disco ride. They don't call it that. I forgot the name there, but it's disco. I think that's it's a spinning wheel and whatnot. And it went down for a little bit. And this gentleman and like many of the staff at Dollywood, the ride attendants are a little they're my senior by a little bit, is what I'll say. And we have some really good friends. I have a guest speaker that's about to jump in here. So I have a daughter. She's coming in. Hi. She's 7, and she's our newest joy. She did knock. We have a knocking policy. Hi. Whoop. I better have to change that background. So I apologize. You guys might need to edit this because this is my daughter Sunshine. Just the joy of our lives here. Hi. She came home. She came home, and we met her virtually about almost a year ago, and we brought her home. She got to call us ours and vice versa around December of this year. Hi. I gotta go back to work. No. You want to say hi to him? You can say hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Sunshine.
Okay. You want to hear him? Here you go. Here, you can hear.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Love you. Go on, bye. Here you go. She loves microphones. She loves. So sorry guys, but I mean I would not. Sorry, she trumps you guys. I love you guys too.
It's okay. But, we understand.
We do have a stop sign on my door over here, and we've taught her that stop means. So she speaks Chinese. Well, she understands Chinese. She's learning to understand English, and she doesn't. She does a fine job communicating with her own way, but she knows to knock, and so she knocked. But I can't tell her no. Like she doesn't understand. Like knocking means I'm coming in. So I think if there's anything that we can learn about children like that in our industry right now, it's probably just get ready for the unexpected, because these types of things happen. I was telling you guys a story, and where was I? Do you recall? That was way more fun than whatever I was telling you.
I think you were just telling us how you were on the moon and you're counting the stars. No, you were talking about the Cincinnati Zoo and how you can't turn off.
Oh yeah.
And then you got into
No, you were talking about
Dollywood. You got into Dollywood.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's somebody that we know. She's really been involved a lot with IAPA as understanding safety and ride safety, and she works for Hershey Entertainment. I don't think she works at Dollywood, but this gentleman that I was watching during this 7 or 8 minute kind of like ride outage, they had to call him maintenance. He's there by himself. I kid you not, like he jumps up in front of the whole crowd, which is mainly kids and me and my kids, and he starts doing Fortnite dances. And he had to be 75. He's like, what's this one? He's like doing the floss, and he's doing all these things that I don't even know what they were, but I was blown away that like this guy, like he gets it. He gets what we love about this industry, that he sees the need and he fills it. Right now, the need was to entertain people in line because the ride, which normally does the entertaining for this area, it was just temporarily down. And we had to wait for the maintenance crew to come in, and they did the thing. And this guy's doing the floss in front of everybody. And so what I was saying is, it's okay to wear your hat wherever you go, but make sure that you look for start with the positives. Don't always just be like, wow, we could do this a lot better. And that's something I need to work on. My wife's like, you don't have to be so critical. Use what you see in the industry, or use your Disney background or your Wild Rivers hospitality background, but use it for good, to try to help people and say, there's opportunities here to do what you're doing differently, and take advantage of whatever gets thrown your way.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Randy. Thank you for sharing that. I find myself giving people the benefit of the doubt when I go to someplace else, because I'm like, I know kind of what's going on behind the scenes, right? And this could be happening or that could be happening. And my wife's like, what do you think's going on? I'm like, well, here are the 18 different scenarios that could be happening that might be impacting our experience right now. But I totally agree that if something good is happening, and I think most people, when they get to our position in the industry, when you've been in it as long, people at different places. So pass along that positivity. I'm sure you passed along your experience at Dollywood to someone at Hershey and someone at Dollywood, so that they could recognize this person. But I also think it goes back to, your observation of the operation and looking for those opportunities, but also looking for the good. And I think when you see people like that, it's too often that we try to say, okay, that's our example, everybody do that. But it's not always the case, right? That's something special that he did, and he was motivated to do just to entertain the kids. So, that's one of the things that I work with people on, is you can't replicate that, but you can get people to figure out their own dances or their own way to entertain people.
Sure. That's absolutely. And I think you want to trust your frontline staff. You need to train them appropriately, give them all the tools and understanding of what their mission is, and then trust them in their output. We've all been on the frustrating side of something that goes wrong. And the frustrating aspect of dealing with customer service is when you finally either get the courage, or you just have the opportunity to talk to somebody to say, hey, this didn't go right, and for these reasons, what can you do to help me out with this? And that person is powerless to help you.
Right.
I am a strong believer in empowering your frontline staff with as much opportunity to fix something as possible. Don't put up artificial barriers that are going to be an impediment to great customer service. In my water park background, we used to have conversations about Dippin' Dots, and it was a training tool. Dippin' Dots are amazing. They're great. It's very hard to get Dippin' Dots wrong. I love the food, but Dippin' Dots, when it was served, with the scoops, we would have a Dippin' Dots casualty occasionally at the water park, where a little kid was so excited, he runs a few steps and boom, hits somebody, and down go the Dippin' Dots. And they don't last a long time on hot concrete. And Dippin' Dots, though, there's a relatively expensive food cost to them, and we're making good profit on them. But these kids would come back with a cup. Now, how do you empower your employees? You just scoop the cup. But at some locations, they don't even empower their staff to do something as simple as that. Just give them a Dippin' Dots. And what I would do with my staff when I was training them up, and as I moved up, I was, the director of admissions and hospitality at the water park for almost 10 years. As you move into this role, you're empowering your people below you. Now, Dippin' Dots turns into a season pass, or free tickets for 5, or 4 season passes. It moves up. You still got to trust them. You got to empower them. And if you ever feel that they started to move across the line, like, wow, that was a very generous guest recovery process. I would typically say, good job. We service the guests. We help them out. Next time, let's think of other options. Could we have done something slightly different? Could we have bought them, an article of clothing? We used to have issues with people with tattoos that come into the park, and the tattoos are fine, but some tattoos they cross the line. And so you're going and you're talking to somebody and you're asking them to cover up, and there's a real gentle balance there. They're very prideful of their tattoo. They might be happy with it. We would just, sir, I'm going to buy you any shirt you want in this gift shop. I want you to have a good time. You're here with your family. I don't want to create a scene. You pick any shirt you want. I'll take care of the costs and we're fine. That's a lot better scenario than kicking this person out and having to leave and embarrassing him maybe, or bringing to light something that, or creating a scene. Just take care of it and empower your staff to do that. That's kind of my approach.
And the difficult part of that is the immediate quantifiable aspects of it versus the long-term residual aspects of it. Sure. And that these rules are put in place to protect the bottom line, that ultimately is a very, I don't want to say narrow focused, but it's a short-term viewpoint of the overall business metrics. So take the example you just gave there. The cost of the t-shirt, maybe it's $20 retail, probably only a few bucks, or so of actual hard cost. And now you have a guest who's now staying. They're happy. They are probably going to spend more money while they're there. You're going to make back the cost that you gave up for that. And then the long term is they're leaving happy and they're not fuming on their way out. Because the amount of times that I've seen people come from a negative experience that could have been resolved so easily, that are now saying, I'm never coming back. I'm, sharing this negative experience with everyone that I can, that you can't necessarily quantify that in the immediate outcome, but project that down the road, and you're losing a whole lot more money than just giving that person that t-shirt.
Yeah. I wish I could find it. Maybe I'll send it to you. I was watching a podcast video of somebody who's a wine seller, and they overheard somebody, that at some event, I don't even know, but they overheard the person talk about his favorite sports star. And this
was that
wine,
Gary Vee?
Yeah. And
yeah,
this is what, did you guys send it? Maybe it even came from you.
I don't think so. I've seen it though, I think. But yeah, go ahead.
But the long short of the story is, someone overhears somebody, they send them a nice personal gift, and there's barely even a thank you. The gift goes kind of unannounced. It's given and that's it. Well, then I think fast forward to a few months, somebody orders like 40,000 cases? It was some crazy number.
It's like really high end, very expensive wine.
Like that, like a, this is going to save my year, my month, or whatever. And it was like a friend of a friend told me this story, and at the next opportunity, I remembered and I recognized you. And Josh, I would say that's something that you wrote an article a few months ago that we actually mentioned on one of our gateway ticketing webinars, and it has to do with this time period while many attractions are closed, to understand who your most valued customers are. And then the gem of what you guys had written was, and let them know that they're loved. Let them know that they're kind of your number one fan. And I think that's going to be really important as our industry reemerges and reopens, that there's some people there that are your number one fans. And personally, I've been sharing a couple stories. I'm really very tight with some friends at Universal Studios in Hollywood. I work very closely with a gentleman named Matt Hohenstein, which Matt, I think you might have worked with him at Universal Orlando.
Yep.
He's a principal theme parks and resorts at Gateway Ticketing. And so collectively, he and I work together with a great team of people at Gateway on our webinar series. Like I said, you guys are joining us in a couple weeks on our webinar, and we're really looking forward to kind of sharing the stage with you both. But the conversation I had with my friend Kevin, and this is a guy that came out of Wild Rivers. It's amazing. There's this group of people that all worked at Wild Rivers together, and two of them, Mike Joya and Kevin Kopeny, are like senior directors of operations at Universal, and there's a few others from Wild Rivers there and at other places. And we all kind of we love what we did at Wild Rivers, and we kind of expanded and moved to other places. But Kevin was talking to me about Comcast and Universal, and I realized I have strong affinity for Universal, their product, and for Disney. And Trolls 2, Trolls World Tour recently came out. I got 5 kids, by the way. They're all girls, so we're fans of Trolls, Disney and Trolls, on all the time here at my house. And
I'm guessing Frozen as well.
There's so much Frozen going on at my house. Last night, ABC had this Disney sing-along. We all watched it. Yesterday, we virtually watched the Frozen show from Disneyland. And my daughter, Sunshine, who you guys just met, she was sitting there and watched the whole thing. And then my other daughter, Toby, has been taking my kids on virtual theme park rides on YouTube. Awesome. Like all that stuff that you've been seeing all over the internet. Yes, it's all happening at my house 24/7.
Yeah.
But Kevin was saying, Universal is in a really strong position right now. It's difficult, but when I say strong, it's comparative. They have been able to, continue this relationship with people via a lot of their diverse channels, right? But beside the point, I like their products. And when Trolls was available for rent, it was $20, but I read online, people were like, oh, I'm going to wait to buy it for $20. Why would you rent it for 48 hours? It's like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? You love the product. You want the company to succeed, and you're happy with what they're doing. Rent the product. It's cheaper to watch it at home than it would be to go to the movie theater. As soon as the movie theater's open, I'm there, but it's not open right now. Mm-hmm. So I think what we need to do is love on the products that we love virtually if we need to. We talked about In-N-Out Burger in one of our webinars, and there's this line of people at In-N-Out Burger. It was on Twitter a few weeks ago, and literally it must be an hour and a half long line to get food. Wow. And then I'm not sure, but maybe the fast food restaurant across the way that is not In-N-Out Burger maybe doesn't have the same line. So why do people go to In-N-Out Burger during this time? Well, they think back about the relationship they have with maybe In-N-Out Burger. And I would suggest you guys do the same. Pick your favorite restaurant or your favorite go-to place and think back about the quality, the cleanliness, the hospitality, and the relationship that you have with these places. And it makes perfect sense that you'd wait in line for an hour and a half, because it makes you feel normal and comfortable. And these are the places that are going to see huge success when we reopen. There might be problems related to how do you manage such an outpouring of desire to visit. And that's something that we at Gateway Ticketing are really trying to work with our customers on. But the reality is that if you've put your guests on a pedestal, your guests are putting you on a pedestal too. They're choosing you above the rest. And I think that's really important for if you're an attraction right now, or even outside of COVID, always consider that. What is it that makes your guests love your product, and embrace that and keep doing that.
Randy, it's really interesting. We've heard in some of our conversations with different people, kind of encapsulated in what you just said, that it's really the relationship that you had with people before the pandemic that's going to help bring you through the pandemic, right? It is partially about what you do now. And so many places are saying, well, how do we engage our guests? Well, just think creatively. You engaged them before, right? And engage them now. And, you will be in a good position again, comparatively, when this is all over. But, it is about, setting the seeds or planting the seeds in the good times. So that will help get you through the bad.
Absolutely. You reap what you sow, but there's still opportunity to keep sowing, right?
Oh, of course.
You got to keep it going. And if you maybe are worried about that, this is a good time to reimagine yourself. I think that's happening a lot. I know there's a lot of obstacles right now, but where is this industry going? And I would say even our own company, Gateway Ticketing, what are we finding during this time period? Well, there's diamonds in your rough. There's diamonds in it that you may not know. We have a guy named Vince that works with us at Gateway Ticketing, and we've asked him to help us out with putting these webinars to market. So we're filming webinars that are an hour to an hour and a half. They've been unbelievably successful. We started this almost immediately. Our first webinar maybe had 150 people, and we're doing them every Wednesday, webinar Wednesdays. And our last one, we had like 580 registrations, over 500 people attend live. And we're just trying to have a community forum. We're going to just continue to put experts like yourselves up to have conversations with people. And what we're finding, though, is that a lot of businesses need that information. And internally, we found this guy named Vince who was a rock star at creating videos. We've never asked him. He's been there at the company. We've really never asked him to take a dive in. I would challenge almost every company with the staff that they have on hand, that everybody's getting creative, to find people that can excel in something. A lot of our seasonal friends out there, water parks, they're used to this. They go from, staffs of 400 or 500 down to 8, 10. And you wear a lot of hats. So a place that's open 365 days, traditionally, everybody gets kind of siloed. But when you have, unfortunately, reduction in hours and furloughs, that you still need to, I don't want to say conduct business as usual, but you still need to have relationships with people and your customers. So look for those people inside and ask for help within. Ask people that you work with, how can you help? And that's what we've been doing at Gateway. We found a great team, and the webinars have been awesome. And with the one exception of Randy, your webinars are going a little long. I mean, our content is so amazing. That's if there's one thing that we have to work on, it's just that it's hard to end a conversation because people have questions. We're getting 100+ questions per webinar, and we're trying to answer them. And so that's one of the challenges. Everybody wants help. Everybody is asking for assistance during this time period.
Yeah, especially when the conversation builds upon itself and continues to grow. It's hard to just kind of say, all right, that's enough for today, because you don't want to provide a disservice to the attendees on the webinar.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the things I'm actually kind of curious too is sort of what's going on. What are the conversations happening within Gateway right now as far as parks do start to reopen, and thinking about from a ticketing and point of sale, and whether it's a turnstile or entry point standpoint, operationally speaking, as we potentially are going to see these impacts of social distancing and health checks, what are the gears that are turning as far as potential changes, whether it's to your software, your hardware, and just the overall product that you offer, as far as what you anticipate?
Well, like many companies, we had a COVID-19 task force that we put together almost immediately. A good amount of our executive team was actually in Los Angeles during the IAPA Leadership Summit, when that was the week that Disney announced that they were going to be closing. That was we were gathered together with everybody in the industry. Al from IAPA, everybody was there in one room, and over this 3 days, everything changed. And so we immediately put together our task force based on people that were right there. We had our first meeting one night and said, what are we going to do? And that's where webinars, knowledge base, we started thinking. We now have a post-COVID-19 task force to talk about how are we going to help our customers out. So first of all, we might need to provide different services. I'm having a virtual site visit. That site visit I told you about, that we typically do personally, I'm doing with a zoo next week over 2 days. And it's really to guide them through what can you do with our software today. I would say that there's a lot of conversations that are happening. I was on with a nice conversation in a Zoom meeting, kind of like this, but it involved maybe an adult beverage or two, with some friends after hours. And one of the conversations that we were having is, no matter what, we're not coming back to the world that we once knew. And right now, in the war rooms or the think tanks of every attraction, conversations are happening, but the reality is no one's decided anything yet. There's no dates, there's no rules, there's really, one person that I was talking to said, honestly, we're just spinning up giant contingency plans because we don't know. Yeah. Now, from a technology standpoint, you brought up turn bars. I'm advising people to remove the turn bars. I don't want to touch a turn bar. My kids have no, you can teach them about germs, but let me tell you, they're going right in and they're touching that turn bar. So removing turn bars is gonna probably happen at most places. We had a guy, Eddie from the Atlanta Botanical Gardens, was talking about some really just basic technology. He just bought 10-foot extender cables for his scanners. And something as basic as, we're going to put the scanner way over there, and then the screen is way over here, but at least I'm building distance, right? So self-service, self-scanning, a lot of conversations about cashless, pre-purchasing everything. You're going to see a huge shift in online behavior. Capacity management, day one, is going to be huge. I'm calling it the soft reopening. Imagine when we're opening a park or an attraction, every attraction does a soft opening, or every theme park does a soft opening if they're brand new. And what's the first thing you do? You limit your scope, you limit your audience. So we're going to see all that. But many attractions don't have the tools to do that. Now, our product suite does that. You can limit the amount of tickets available and whatnot, but a lot of zoos and museums, they'll take whoever they can get. They've never needed to have what we call capacity management or resource management in their system. But I would say the big things that I'm hearing about is, you're going to keep handling cash. How do you handle cash at a gift shop, without touching? There's this perception that cash might be dirty. So looking at solutions there, buying things online, maybe some radical things that in our industry, a lot of us love parking, but I'm not charging for parking for a period of time, right? It might not be what I am going to do forever, but that's a touch point that is probably not necessary. So folding the parking into the ticket price, or just having free parking for a while, those are definitely options that we can see and consider. There's some we're going to have a webinar coming up about pricing. Pricing is really going to be interesting. This is going to be a time period where many attractions are going to explore dynamic pricing, because if you're going to limit capacity and you're changing the experience, are you creating more VIP experiences? Right. And then how do you price a VIP experience at a zoo or an aquarium when you've never had that? But then how do you preserve not becoming a multi-class attraction, right? So I don't want to be an attraction where I've separated out and said, oh, those are the VIPs. They pay $200 a ticket for that experience, and everybody else, we can't visit. So the optics are going to be really important for an attraction, to figure out how do you manage that. So these are all thought process I have. How does an attraction work more agile during this time period? What staff members are not required to operate physically in the building versus the team that's required to provide the hospitality and the guest experience that you're known for? So I would imagine that we're going to continue to see people work from home. But then a core team is going to be trained differently to manage staff and guest experience in a safe way. One of the real challenges I think that we're all having in this industry is we love our industry because of people. Yeah. And you can see it on the faces of our friends when we're joining a Zoom call. They're like, people, I'm so happy to be talking. And I think that it's going to be really hard to re-engage some of your staff to to people in a way that's not real tactile. I'm thinking of the experiences, the meetups and the meet and greets. How are you going to have a Mickey meet and greet from a distance? I mean, these are staff members that want to hug and they want to embrace, and you want to high five people, when they get off a ride. And I think it's going to be challenging. We're going to have some retraining there. But we also have to be cognizant that these employees are craving relationships, and they're extroverts by nature. That's why they're in this industry. So there's a lot of challenges there. I'm looking forward to seeing the innovation that comes out of this. We, as an example, one little thing, and we never had our software, like any software, you could return, a ticket, an order. So you call up and say, I can't make it. My child is unfortunately sick. And although I would always recommend that you turn that into a ticket to come back and visit another time, you should, from a business practice, you should always try not to return money. What do you do when 5,000 orders need to be refunded? Most pieces of software don't do that. So we innovated and put to market in just a couple of weeks a tool that allows our customers to bulk return by event, by date, by any sales channel that you might have. And we're really proud to be able to do that. We've, tons of our customers are using that feature. And I think you're going to see a lot of innovation like that come out of this time period as well.
Sure.
Yeah, I think as people have time, there's sort of a process, right? And as people have kind of gotten over the fact that this is happening, kind of settled in, and okay, this is what happened, is what's happening. And then they sort of have the time, they say, oh, now I've got to think about things differently, and they can start that thought process and the innovation. And I think absolutely we're going to see some things that we've never saw before, partly because necessity is the mother of invention, right? We're going to have to.
Absolutely.
Right. And there's going to be new regulations, new processes that we all have to abide by. And we're going to have to figure out a way. What I'm really excited about is this industry is usually good at taking what we have to do and turning it into something cool that we can do. Right.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I'm excited to see.
Yeah. And I love that too. I mean, we had a meeting pretty much this morning. It was bright and early this morning with the president of the company, this post COVID-19 task force, and nothing's off the table. So we're talking about all kinds of ideas, and I'm a big fan of that. I'm not a programmer. I'm a blue sky idea generator, and in a perfect world, I'm like, hey, wouldn't this be great? And I just show pictures, like word pictures, like, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Wouldn't that be awesome? And then I'll let them decide if that's something that we can do. I got a good feel for the things we ought to do, and I think we're going to see some of that come out of all this. There's been just little teeny things that have happened already. Like in the UK, you don't have to touch the keypads. Actually, even better, Palace Entertainment. We had somebody from Palace. How many of you guys are used to sticking a card in? I don't mind sticking my card in something because I don't have to touch anything else. The problem I have is the green button. Right now, if I go to a restaurant, I don't want to hit the green button. Well, if you look at the back of your credit card, you'll notice that almost every card is NFC enabled right now. You could tap and go. I was at Costco yesterday, and I don't want to touch anything. I just want to tap and go. But you need to put those readers out. So if you have credit card terminals today, talk to your credit card terminal provider and say, I need an extender that can be an NFC extender so that the person can tap. You could tap this through plexiglass. A lot of people will say to me, well, we're behind some type of a safety barrier glass. That's okay. Put the reader on this side of the glass so the guest can tap it. It will work fine. You could use a barcode scanner through plexiglass. So there's a lot of ideas that are just low-hanging fruit. And there's ideas that are out there. Like I said, Costco, go to Costco, write stuff down. Like, wow, how does Costco creating separation between a cashier and a guest? Well, you know what Costco did, at least my local one, is they just put a fold-up table in front of the counter. So if you go to the returns counter, the person's over there, there's the counter, and then there's a fold-up table, which is providing distance. So I had to give them something across the table. Then they took it. They did what they needed to do. And as soon as I left, it was seconds. They sprayed the table down, cleaned everything down. And so, yeah, we're going to have slower speed of service. Our retail outlets are going to have a different experience. We still want to sell products, but maybe the guest scans their own retail items. That you could have 2 scanners on a point of sale, and that will work fine. So these are the types of, I mean, they're not really innovations, Matt. They're just like, ooh, we have to do something different.
Yeah. Well, and I like your point about, looking at other industries. What are they doing? Because takeout restaurants and supermarkets and hardware stores have had to figure this out. So let's look to them. Let's not reinvent the wheel. But I know we're going to make it cooler.
Yeah. My local taco shop is, it has a bunch of pens in a cup and a styrofoam cup, and it says clean right on it, probably written with one of the pens. And then right next to it is this a little, a little bowl, right? The type of bowl your fries would be in, right? Not a bowl, but a little tray.
Yeah.
It's over here, and it says 30. There's like 5 pens laying down there, and then these pens are all splayed out. Well, they had to go get 20 pens, and when they're low, they clean, sanitize, and put them back. It's just, we're smart people in this industry. We've built rides and attractions that go upside down, that take you to other universes. We can figure out some of this. It's just really trying to understand what our customers are going to be able to accept from us when we reopen.
Yeah, and I mean, that example right there, I mean, we've been doing that with 3D glasses for 20 years, right? It's just that exact same process.
Yeah.
And, you make a great point of like, we can sit and, we can have these types of calls and brainstorm all day, or get up and go to Costco and see what they're doing there. At my grocery store, I'm amazed at just how quickly they just like stamped in these like red squares, and whether it's at the deli counter or the checkout lines. And it's like, all right, like here's where we can get the inspiration from the businesses that are still operating. And, I got takeout the other day from like a local bar that, I wanted to support. And I was like, I walked in there, I was like, wow, it's really cool. Like they've like barricaded off like half of it. And now they're operating a quick service, counter service operation. They have some capacity issues that they need to work up, but thankfully it's a good thing that the demand is really high. So it's, the answers are all there. It's just about really piecing it together. And a lot of it, are components of what we're probably already doing in some extent. It just maybe needs to be reframed or repositioned.
Yeah.
So we're starting to run a little low on time, but we want to make sure we can allocate sometime towards the end of the episode here where we want to turn this over to you, because we know that you've got some questions for us today. So enough of us asking the questions. Randy, the floor is yours.
Wow. I'm so excited. So one of my favorite, there's a show called The Actors Studio, and, I should have said my first job was I was an actor. So I am a big fan of acting. And quite frankly, we're always on a stage when we work in this industry. So it's pretty appropriate. But if you ever watch The Actors Studio, there's a gentleman, James Lipton. He always ends the show with a bunch of questions. And I thought it'd be fun to ask you guys some questions. And so I've come up with, it's not 10 questions, it's 8. But the idea is should probably be the first thing that comes to your mind. But if you have to think about it, that's cool. So here's my 8 theme park attraction questions. And the goal here, guys, is that during this COVID-19 time period, I think it's important to center back on what we love. We love this industry. We love it. It's all I want to do in my entire life. I don't want to do anything else. And these questions are really to get us to smile about what we love about this industry. Okay, so my first one for you guys is, what is your favorite sound effect or sound at an attraction? It could be a music, a soundtrack, it could be anything that makes you smile. Do you guys have a favorite?
I do.
First?
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah. Roller coaster chain.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yes, exactly. No car on it even.
Yeah, just hearing it in the distance.
Chain starting up, and then it just it's running, especially in
like early in the morning before the park opens.
Yes, right. Yes, Six Flags Magic Mountain parking lot. Yes, I love it.
Only sound. Yes, love it.
So I thought of a more specific one, and that is keep arms down, head back, and hold on. The pre-launch announcement on Top Thrill Dragster. And then followed the arms down.
Arms down.
Arms
down.
down.
Now, I don't know if mine will play, but mine's really quick. Let me see if this will work. Because I should have done it on my phone. You guys didn't hear it, did you?
No.
Oh, it's the chime at Star Tours. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, okay.
I've no my daughter will tell me, Dad, you have no, you're tone deaf, but I can't even do it. But I love that sound that lets you know you're about to go visit a new planet or galaxy. Okay,
That's awesome.
Okay. What is your go-to attraction, food or drink? Oh, you're even smelling it, Matt.
Okay,
I'm totally smelling it.
Okay, it's cheese on a stick.
Yeah, I figured that for him. Yeah. Now,
It's not a secret. I'm not.
now is there any categorization around this? Like, is this a meal? Is it a snack? Is it
it could be here. Mine is Dole Whip, right? I always like to say whip, but Dole Whip.
Yeah,
that's my Family Guy reference. But Dole Whip it's my go-to food or drink.
I'd say mine would have to be funnel cake.
Yes, funnel cake.
Love it.
Just powdered sugar or with a lot of love on it.
Well, that depends on my mood.
That's awesome. Although I will say I'm a big fan of the Little Orbits donuts. Like when I'm at IAPA and on the trade floor, I always make my way there, which is interesting because my next question is actually, what is your favorite theme park smell or attraction smell?
All right,
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so this is the first one that comes to mind, and I will say it is the first of many, because anything that is just deep fried being pumped through a Midway just always makes you feel really good about yourself. But I'm actually gonna change my answer a little bit to say suntan lotion.
That's a great one.
And that might be one thing that is also like just a general sort of feel good smell. And I realized this many years ago, because anytime you smell sunscreen or suntan lotion, something good is about to happen. You know, you don't normally put on sunscreen like if you're like getting up and like going to school or like doing your chores. It's like you're going to the beach, you're going to a park, you're doing something outside on a sunny day. It is like the precursor to a good time.
Do something good. Yeah. I would have to say mine relates to my first answer because it's roller coaster grease. It's very distinctive. Like, it seems like every park uses the exact same product, because when you go to any coaster and you get close enough to the chain box and you can smell the grease, it smells the same. And I'd love it. That and anything deep fried. So that's amazing. I love how like you can see yourself. Now mine's is a crazy one. When I was a boy and I grew up, in the LA Orange County area, the Griffith Park Observatory, it had these machines, and you guys have seen them. They're the injection molded wax machines that would take a figure, and you would go put money in it, and it would these little stainless steel things would come in, and it would produce this hot wax smell. It smelled like, I guess, melted crayons. But there's only one other zoo, and I'm frantically looking to try to find which zoo it was. But I visited one other zoo. The company that makes those is still in business, and there's a zoo that they have like the little tigers and things like that. So I'm gonna have to find that.
Was this like a vending machine type?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Big glass bubble, and you would watch the extruding machine like make the wax figure for you.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to go to the parrot jungle all the time down in Miami, which has then moved to Watson Island and become Jungle Island.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, every time I would go, I would have to get like the flamingo or like the parrot. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. It's been a long time since I've seen one of those.
Yeah.
The company's still in business.
They're still in business. It's a real gem. So we should find out who they are and have them tell us how we can make a custom little attraction pros. Maybe they can make like a little Matt and a little Josh.
Can they make it a bobblehead too?
That'd be awesome.
I actually have a a wax hand, probably made it from a similar type of machine, that was a giveaway at a bat mitzvah I went to 20 years ago that has stood the test of time and is like in my closet, like
Wow.
back at, like in Michigan at home.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we're doing, this is great. I hope you guys are okay with this. And
Yeah, keep going.
This comes a special segment. What is the first ride, attraction, or theme park? So it could be any of those. What is the first ride, attraction, or theme park that blew you away?
I got mine.
Go for it.
Jogga Lake. And I was really young, but my parents would take us there twice a summer, and right across the lake was SeaWorld. And I just remember, and at this time, I would not go on roller coasters. I was deathly afraid, but I was just fascinated by the entire process. And, you know, some of the attractions I would go on, I love the antique cars and log flume. And, you know, it just blew me away from, we could have this much fun, you know, in an afternoon with all these things all in the same spot.
Wow, that's awesome. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go.
This is a tough one.
Yeah, but I didn't want to go with the most obvious, but my home park growing up was Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And there's my souvenir 1973 map there. And I think even Cedar Point, Queen of American watering places. And yeah, I mean, the first time I went there, I was 7. And, you know, I went there like when I was 7 and 8, and then didn't go back like for a few more years, but always like retained that sense of awe with it, which kind of like grew in magnitude as my love for the industry continued to blossom. And I think it still does blow me away in a sense of just the, you know, the sheer magnitude, and it's so different from any other park that mostly in its situation on the peninsula, you can't just drive past it and be like, oh, there it is, there it was. Like, you have to approach it, and it, you know, the skyline comes into full effect with it. So that specific aspect of it, I would say, has always blown me away and been kind of that sense of awe.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. What about you?
I had a tough one on this one because there were 2, but I was able to pretty quickly narrow it down to Islands of Adventure.
Okay.
In 2000, I had gotten married. My wife and I honeymooned, not just at Orlando, but Orlando was a stopping off point before we went to the Caribbean. And I had you know, made it a point to go visit Islands of Adventure. I had never been, and so it was a special time for my wife and I too. You know, and we took a picture next to the Q is for Quandary sign over there in the Dr. Seuss land. And we love it so much. Like every time we go back there and take a picture there, but I would say Islands of Adventure just blew me away at all that was going on. And I would say it probably has continued to do that.
Yeah. I mean, the park was definitely ahead of its time when it was built, and still continues to be the forefront.
Yeah. All right. All right, here we go. What's your favorite what's your favorite theme park? I think we know yours, Josh. I'm gonna guess. Maybe
theme park or amusement park? You know.
Ooh.
There we go.
I was going to have to ask that same question.
How much are we unpacking this?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Let's say theme park or amusement park for this one. But my follow-up question is, what's your favorite attraction? So I want to definitely separate those 2.
Okay. Favorite amusement park would still be Cedar Point, and favorite theme park would be Universal Studios Florida.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would probably, I would agree that Cedar Point's my favorite amusement park. And to me, it's actually a toss up between Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure.
I actually realized the irony that I said USF.
You combined them. Right. Yeah. I see. We all saw what you did there, Josh. I'm going to say
there's so much to do in both of them.
Yeah. Wow. Now I have an amusement park and a theme park. I got all these different ones in my head. I would say Tokyo Disney Sea. I had the opportunity to go there, and yeah.
That I would say is probably the number 1 park that is on my list that I would love to get to.
Josh, you're jumping ahead because that's my last question. So now we know where you're going. For amusement park, but there's a lot of great ones, but I'm going to say Lake Compounce. I only visited kind of as a guest, but I love the just the history, and the charm. Kind of there's elements of it that I love. I love Dollywood though, and I love so many places. I'm a pass holder of Dollywood. I live in Tennessee, so I am definitely there's so many places to like. And I love the park, obviously Disneyland.
Yeah.
Everything about Disneyland is great. I love having conversations with my friends that are partial to the one in Florida, which I don't mind saying Walt Disney, the Magic Kingdom, but I, with a smile on my face, will typically say, well, I like the one that Walt walked through,
It's funny too.
Very Anaheim answer.
Yeah. And the cast at Disneyland really owns that too. When I was, when I was in college at UCF in Orlando with the Future Theme Park Leaders Association, we took a trip out to California. Actually, you mentioned Mike Joya earlier from Universal Hollywood. I was like, that name rings a bell. We met with him on that trip.
Oh, awesome.
USH. But at Disneyland too, the cast picked up that we were all from Orlando, and then a lot of us worked for Disney, or for Disney World rather, and they started like incorporating this into their spiels, like enjoy the rest of your evening at Disneyland, Walt Disney's original Magic Kingdom, or something like that. Really like hammering it home, like no, this is
this is the one. I would say we take a little bit of pride for being, I worked there, and that was my home base. I did a lot of projects in Florida, but they're all awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's great that you talk about Mike too, because I should have mentioned the Universal Studios Hollywood tram tour is just so stinking amazing. Yeah. Like I will go on that every single time. It is just a piece of magic. So there's a lot there. So what's your favorite attraction? So not a theme park. So you could throw a zoo, aquarium in here.
Oh, okay. So actual facility.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'll say that I'll jump out here for a second. There's so many amazing ones. Zoos. There's the charm of the Detroit Zoo, which is great. It's one of the oldest ones around. Cincinnati Zoo is fantastic. There's a lot in there. I love the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Okay. I just where it's located, the views, the scene, the fact that they bring in ocean water for the habitats, it's the mission there, and it's just so cool. I like that place.
Yeah. So when you said attraction, I thought you meant like ride. So that's I think that's where Josh would have been going too.
No,
but I see what you're getting at. There are so many to choose from. I'm going to go with one that's a little bit smaller and say the St. Augustine Lighthouse in St. Augustine, Florida. Because of the history and the charm, and you can walk up the lighthouse. You can walk up most lighthouses, but I just love the atmosphere that's there, and you can see the artifacts that they've pulled from the ocean, and they're building boats there, and it's just a really cool vibe. Besides the lighthouse, but the Maritime Museum and the whole thing. I just really enjoy that.
Good answer. And I was like, yeah, that's a really good one. I'm going to go with the Museum of Science and Industry here in Chicago. Just the magnitude and size of the museum. It's at least the largest science museum in the Western Hemisphere, possibly the largest museum. And just the way that the content is delivered is incredibly engaging and enjoyable, and the history of the building itself, and there's a German U-boat.
The German U-boat. You could spend days and days listening to the audio of that U-boat experience. It's amazing.
I just love the story of how they got it into the museum. Like they dug out an entire section of the ground just to lift it in, and then they brought it in through Lake Michigan, parked it there, hoisted it over Lakeshore Drive, and then settled it down in there, and then built that wing of the museum around it afterwards. It's a pretty cool story. And like the captain of the ship that captured it, was a Chicago native. So I guess he had authority over what to do with that submarine. And, he was like, well, let's bring it to Chicago, So, and that's just like, that's only one small part of the museum of this massive wing here, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Everything about that. I love that place. Yeah. The planes, everything about that, the experiences that are we are in the best industry ever. I'm sitting here I'm thinking like, there's so many, these questions are so hard because there's so many. I mean, have you guys been to the USS Midway Museum?
Yep.
Yeah.
Place is amazing.
Fantastic.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah.
And they have a Tom Cruise character actor that is lights out. He looks like Maverick. It's amazing. Wow. All right, we got 2 more. Here we go. What is the most charming attraction you've ever visited?
Charming.
Ooh, charming.
Lake Winnipesaukee.
I've never been.
You've never been? Where in Tennessee are you?
No, but I'm in Nashville, and I've only been here for a handful of years, so we haven't been there. So now I'm going to add it to the list.
So just a little south of Chattanooga. It's in Georgia.
I'm making a note right now.
They have the greatest, and I say that in terms of charming log flumes you will ever go on. Built in-house, and it's all it is just a lift and a drop. But the station, you need to get out to the lift, and they enclosed it in this tunnel. So for about 20 minutes, you're just floating in this pitch black tunnel until you turn around and just go up the lift, do the drop.
Oh man, I gotta. All right, it's on the list. When we reopen, the Josselyn clan is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to think about this one because there's so many places that are really, really charming, but I'm going to go with Knoebels.
Nice. That's a great place.
Yeah.
No further explanation.
No, that's all you need.
Of charm.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because you guys were talking about these. We're kind of pushing ourselves into these regions. I was on an IAPA trip to Quasi Amusement Park. Have you guys ever been there in Connecticut? That place is such a little gem too. There's so many of them. I'm going to go across the way. I'm Efteling. I went to Efteling, which was I love the charm and the story of what is being told there. It's a pretty cool little place. Okay, so I'm going to make this one a little easier. What 2 attractions are on your bucket list? Or theme parks, resorts, anything. What are the 2? This is my last question.
So we have to pick 2?
No, you can pick 1. It's fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
I did 2 because I thought it'd be fun to kind of take a little deeper dive.
And I need to add one because we know Tokyo Disney Sea. I already said that one earlier.
Can I say anything not in North America?
Yeah, that's okay. That's
my
a good answer.
like all the parks in Europe that I've never been to, the parks in Asia. Yeah, I mean, just they're all on the list. I don't know that I can narrow it down.
So Matt, I follow you, on a lot of social media channels, and you have an annual ritual, which is I don't know what's going to happen this year, where you go to attractions. I think what you should do is gather a group of people and do like a 2 or 3 week itinerary, and let's do it through Europe.
Yeah,
I want to go to Liseberg because that's one of mine.
I would love to go there too.
That's on my bucket list. So I want to go there, and we could go say hi to Andreas and everything and go there. But yeah, we need to set this up, and we could actually get buses. We could get all these people. we could pick up people on the way. I would love to do that.
You heard it here first. Attraction Pros Euro trip.
It's like the movie Vacation, right?
Yeah,
Attraction Pros,
Vacation. Exactly.
Holiday Road.
Yeah. So the one that actually came to mind is also in Europe, and it is the aquarium in Valencia, Spain.
Nice.
The architecture. I mean, it's like I can't remember who the name of the architect is, but there's a lot of significance around the building itself.
Wow.
Of that architect.
So. I'm going to leave it at Liseberg because I have too many other places that I want to go now, based on the conversation that we've been having.
Well, it's so tough to just say, "Oh yeah, this is my number one." When it's like, no, like there's a.
But that's why I can't narrow it down.
Right.
Because if I haven't been there, it's on my list.
Exactly.
You know what? What I was hoping to get out of this was just. It's like I said earlier, we're in a great industry, and we get to do this for a living, and we're super blessed to be able to do that and to help people along the way. And it's all these places put smiles on our faces, and there's all these. I mean, there's so many places that are yet untapped as well. So I actually am going to add one more, and I know Josh, we're a little pressed for time, but this is a little bit of a deviation. I came up with it, and maybe it's because I want to tell you my story on this one. But what is your happiest? Do you have a moment that was your happiest moment at a theme park? I think I know maybe what Matt's might be, but
definitely. I hope I know what Matt's is.
your happiest moment at a attraction or theme park. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Matt. So maybe we'll go to Josh first.
If it's the one you both are thinking of, it's when I got married at Islands of Adventure.
Oh, I wasn't thinking that at all.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You should do a podcast episode about that story if you haven't. That would be brilliant.
I think we've talked about it. We've talked about it maybe in passing, but never the whole episode.
Well, whatever I do come up with will not be nearly as significant as getting married in front of the Mystic Fountain. So what was it, happiest moment?
What is your happiest moment? If there's something that just is stamped in your mind for just, I was there then, or I think the reality is as we walk through attractions we've ever been to, I think you can almost look at each area and go, remember that? Or remember I took a picture with that person over here, and I went on this ride for the first time there.
Part of it also too is, I have to separate this out. Am I an employee or am I a guest? Because
that's tough.
Or if I were to say like the grand opening of Hard Rock Park, or even like the grand opening of Legoland, Florida, where there was the confetti burst and it was just it's just such a big celebration. And I was working, but I was so thankful to just be a piece of this,
right?
Just be able to have this moment. So that I would say would be two of them that probably have a lot of significance from an employment standpoint. And then as a guest, it's just so many. Actually, I'll tell you this. When I was 12 years old, and this was now my third visit to Cedar Point after a multi-year hiatus, and I was excited and I was scared, but I think something deep inside of me knew that my life was going to change that day. And after, doing a lot of kiddie family rides, I was there like with some friends. I think I was there with a youth group. It was a group trip, so I wasn't with my family, kind of working my way up. All right, I did Mine Ride, cool, knocked it off my list. Yeah, I've been on Gemini before, let's go on, really scared. I've never been on a roller coaster that goes upside down before. And then towards the end of the day, I remember getting on Corkscrew. And I remember that, with vivid memory at 12 years old, going through that first loop and saying okay, something inside of me enjoyed that, and now I want to experience that more. And then I immediately went and I rode Raptor by myself. I was with a friend when I rode Corkscrew, and then I got off, went over to Raptor, and stood in the line by myself, again, 12 years old, and then got off that and said, all right, I'm into this. So there's my answer to your question. The defining moment that I guess I didn't realize at the time was kind of laying out plans for the rest of my life.
Josh, that was brilliant. I loved it. I love it.
You know what? I take back what I said. That was more significant than Matt's. Just kidding. Not at all.
Both life-changing.
Yeah, they are both life-changing. I have two, but I'm only going to say one for time. Next time we'll have another one. But I'll tell you, you guys been on Steamboat Springs at Blizzard Beach, the raft ride?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's the family raft ride at Disney's Blizzard Beach, and it's a light blue ride. And going on that ride with my wife was pregnant at the time with number 4. But going on that ride with my 3 daughters, and it's a big family raft ride, and they were all wearing the little teeny, they're these foam life jackets there, and they're all wearing them and going on that ride and holding on tight like this and backing up and watching their three faces as I went on that ride. And that's a long family Ralph ride, but that moment is forever imprinted in my head. It's just probably the greatest. I don't even know if it's a minute and a half or something, but just the faces and the experiences that you can get. And there's something unique about water slides like that, because you're in a tube and you could see the person's face.
Right.
On a lot of rides, you can't see the face of your child or your friends or your loved ones. But that was just the greatest moment in my greatest theme park attraction experience.
That's a special moment.
That is awesome.
It was really special. And actually, that question didn't make the list. And I think as we were talking, I was like, I got to talk about this. It's a great moment in my life, and I would say it's definitely defining too. So
awesome.
That's awesome.
Those are our 9 questions.
Well, those were awesome, Randy, and thank you for bringing that to the Attraction Pros podcast. That was super fun. So as we do wrap this up, unfortunately, and you may have 15 more questions, and we'll save those for another time. But if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or learn more about Gateway, where would you send them?
Oh, you could just go to gatewayticketing.com. Email me anytime you want. Josselyn, RJOSSELYN @gatewayticketing.com. Just hit me up. I love friends. I love hanging out. I'm on Facebook. I don't think I'm too hard to find. I'm on LinkedIn, all those channels. Just, say hello. Let's talk.
Great. Randy, this was a ton of fun. So we really appreciate you joining us here on the podcast today.
You guys are awesome. I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you for having me.
Well, yeah, the pleasure's all ours. And thank you so much for joining us. And for everyone out there, thanks for being Attraction Pros.
Thanks for joining us for another great episode of the Attraction Pros podcast.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Feel free to drop us a line on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, and make sure to follow us on all the social channels.
And make sure you've subscribed to the show so you can get the latest episodes every single week. Also, if you're new to the show, be sure to check out all the great episodes and guests we've featured in the past.
And if you want to learn more about Matt and Josh and check out the best articles for you to operate your attraction most successfully, be sure to visit us at attractionpros.com.